Have you ever stopped to think about how we manage to agree on things without ever actually saying a word? It really feels like there's this invisible set of rules guiding us. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on those rules. We're diving into a really cool concept called a Schelling Point. All right, let's start with a classic puzzle. Just imagine this for a second. You absolutely have to meet a complete stranger somewhere in New York City. The catch? You have no phone, no email, no way to communicate at all. You just have to show up. So where do you go and what time? Go on, what's the first thing that pops into your head?
Okay, so if you thought of a really famous landmark, maybe something like Grand Central Station, right? Under that iconic clock, and you picked a super simple time like noon, well, you are not alone. In fact, that's what most people choose. See, there's a pattern here, this unspoken agreement that just pulls us all toward the same answer.
And that, right there, is what we're talking about. The unspoken agreement. We're all coordinating our actions without a single word being exchanged. It kind of feels like magic, doesn't it? But it's actually grounded in a really powerful and predictable idea from game theory.
And here it is. This is the big idea, the Schelling Point. It's that solution people naturally gravitate towards when they can't talk it out. It's not always the most logical or efficient choice, but it's the one we expect other people to choose. Grand Central at noon? It's famous. It's central. It's just obvious. It becomes a focal point in a city that literally has infinite other possibilities.
Right, so these Schelling points don't just appear out of nowhere. They come from our shared culture, from the things we all kind of know. We've all seen Grand Central in movies. We all know noon is the middle of the day, a classic lunchtime. It's this shared mental map that makes certain options just stand out and feel important to everyone involved.
And listen, this isn't just some fun thought experiment about meeting strangers. This same principle is a huge deal in high-stakes situations, like negotiations. When you're trying to win without spelling everything out, finding the Schelling Point can be the key to everything.
So let's picture this. Two people are trying to agree on the price of an asset. They've run all the complicated financial models, and the data spits out a very precise value, $1.3 million. Super specific number, right? But what number do you think they actually settle on? You know, more often than not, it's a nice, round, clean number. Something like 1.5 million. There's no real mathematical reason for it, but it just feels right. It feels like a natural, stable place to land. It's the negotiations' Schelling Point.
This really shows a fascinating tug of war. On one side, you've got the precise, messy, calculated value. And on the other, you have this clean, powerful psychological anchor that just feels intuitive. The Schelling Point often wins out because it's simply the easiest path for two different minds trying to meet in the middle.
And this idea scales way up from just two people in a room to entire societies. So many of our cultural norms and unwritten rules are, when you get down to it, just widely accepted Schelling points that help us all get through the day without bumping into each other too much.
I mean, think about it. Why does business casual mean more or less the same thing in most offices? Why do we shake hands when we meet someone? Why is being on time such a big deal in some cultures? These are all focal points we've agreed on. Even something as simple as a 50-50 split in a deal is a powerful Schelling point. It's just the most obvious, fair solution that doesn't need a long, drawn-out negotiation.
So what this gives us is actually a pretty practical guide for navigating any new social situation. When you join a new company or, heck, move to a new country, your first job is to find the local Schelling points. You just have to observe what's going on, identify those unwritten rules, and then align your own behavior. It's really the fastest way to fit in and start coordinating with everyone else.
Seriously, once you start seeing Schelling points, you can't unsee them. They're everywhere. Understanding this concept is kind of like getting a new superpower. It's the ability to see the invisible architecture that guides pretty much all human coordination.
Okay, so let's wrap this all up. From trying to find a stranger in a massive city to closing a $1 million deal, Schelling points are the invisible force guiding us. They're the anchors in a negotiation that just feel right, and they're the cultural norms we follow without even thinking. And just understanding this gives you a huge advantage, not just in predicting what people will do, but in helping shape it.
Which kind of leaves us with one last question. Learning to spot these Schelling points, that's one thing. But the real power, that comes from learning how to create them. In your next team project, your next negotiation, maybe even in your social life, how can you establish a new focal point that makes it easier for everyone to get on the same page? Now that you can see the rules, what new ones will you write?